Oracle of Ages time. After we finish Oracle of Ages, actually, we're gonna play some Kirby games. Starting my whole trying to play through all of the Kirby games, asterisk, with some exceptions, on stream. There is a redeem that has been added for adding a Kirby game to the wheel. Basically, the way we're going to do this is I'm going to play a mainline Kirby game, and we're going to do them in order from the first one to the newest one. And I mean, honestly, at the rate they release Kirby games, by the time we finish the last one, there might be a new one. If you do ! Kirby, there's a list of Kirby games. Dream Course is one of them. I'll add Dream Course to the wheel. Basically, after we finish one of... Oh my god, why is that? Well, whatever, you can kind of read them. That was working fine earlier. Stream elements. Anyway. We're going to play through all the mainline Kirby games one after the other, in order, start to finish. But after I finish one of them, I'll play one of the spin-offs, and we'll spin a wheel to decide which of the spin-offs we're going to play. Oh, shit, I thought I did have that. Oops. I did that for my other wheel one. Oh, yeah. Okay, that should be set up now. I'll just remember Dream Course though. Actually, I'll add Dream Course right now because I have the window open. So basically, anything you add, all of the spin-off games are in the list or are on the wheel already, but you know, if you want to nudge towards seeing a specific one sooner, more Dream Course. I probably won't finish all the side games. We'll probably just like do a stream of them. I don't know, we'll see. More Dream Course. More Dream Course. I like Dream Course. It's hard though. It's very hard. Check for Kirby game names, that's it. Good old Tet and Tumble. Dream Course is... Like, is this the golf game? Oh god, right. So the thing I realised after finishing the last stream is that this is not a dungeon, this is actually just a boss rush. The optional dungeon that we can do is actually out here. Oh, not in there. I need to not walk into that. This dungeon might take a while, so we'll see how it goes, because I think it's like an accumulation of all of the puzzles you've learnt throughout the game. Which I've been bad at, so, you know, we'll see how that goes. The Hero's Cave. So, like, this is like a dungeon, if I remember right. I say I remember right, I don't think I've ever done this dungeon, but I believe this dungeon uses, like, everything. This is all of the stuff you've learned throughout this game. Move these. Okay. Put this up there. Oh, I see what I have to do. You get lost. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of puzzle solving this stream. Oh wait, how'd I get... I fucked it. Also, I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second. Okay, I can go down this way. That's fine. With this? Ah. That doesn't help. I need to move this down here. Oh wait, I can just cheat. When in doubt, cheat. Okay, we need to do a jump. But if I remember right, there's like... So we're well and truly in the post-game stuff at this point. Probably shouldn't have smashed these, but whatever. Oh, I definitely should have smashed those. What is this room? So confused by this room. Oh, here we go. Right. It's out to torment you today. Can I just do this? I can't just do this. What's... What? This is confusing though. Can I just bomb this from here? That's what Jason does. Nope. Oh, what if I can... Come on. Yeah. I don't know if that helps, but I did it. If it's just down now. Yay. Puzzle solved. Alright. We got key. So I think this whole dungeon's like this, is puzzle rooms. Is this a timer, or is that just... Oh, it switches between the two. I see, I see, I see. Hmm. Is it... Oops. That helps. Can I move any of these blocks? These blocks are positioned in a very strange way. Nope. Hmm. I don't think a bomb will be fast enough. Or slow enough even. Hey. How many times do these bounce? Not enough times. That'd be funny though if you had to like bounce all the way around. Oh, come on, Brad. Oh yeah, the Zelda dungeon music. The music in this game in general is great. Okay, bombs don't set off. That plan doesn't work. It's sketchy, oh no. Ah, I think that's the right idea, but I fucked it. Can I see the sketchy? Was it a catchy? Catchy. No. Alright, this is the rest of the stream, it's just me trying to do this one room. I need to stop waiting, but I'm like, is it gonna hit? If I do this, I could do it. Easy. Just me sitting waiting like, oh, I think I've missed it, I don't want to start running. Right, we did it. Next puzzle. Oh, Jesus. I still don't have a shield. I might not be able to do this one. Oh my god, and someone outside's like gotten something. Can I move these? Oh, I have to shoot these if I remember right. I've got that equipped. equipped already. Oh, I need to shoot them all at once. Oh my god, you guys need to fuck off. I got 3 of them. So the only way you can kill these enemies is with your shield, and I didn't, my shield got eaten a bit ago. I need to find the angle that these all... Oh, that one might have been it if the fucking enemy wasn't in the way. Go away! You spiky asshole. Oh my god. That was Crow. Like, Crow redeemed himself, sort of. I'm doing terribly at this one. I don't want to leave because we'll probably have to do the other puzzles again. Actually, no, we won't. I have enough money for a shield. Let's find out. We're gonna go see if I've got enough money for a shield. Because I did kind of fuck this one up. It's probably useful for me to go into the last boss fight with a shield anyway. You know, in case he tries to hit me. I don't know what's happening now. Right. There's a shop down here. This guy better sell shields. I'll be really annoyed if I have to go somewhere else. Where do I have to go to buy a shield? Where do I get shields from? I'm actually just Googling this. Arc of Ages shield. There must be someone that just sells them. It says they could be built. It says I could buy a shield from here. This wiki is lying to me. Is there a shop in the past? I don't think there is. Right, let's try one more thing. Then I'll just live without a shield. Oh wait, no, that's in the past. We went to the forest, there was like a bunch of deco scrubs that sell shields for varying prices. Anyway, how's everyone's Friday going? This is the one song I don't really like in this game. It's so repetitive and kind of grating. Well, no deco scrubs. I think it was also in the past. Perfect. Warped in inside a tree. This better. I do appreciate that it lets you do this. It's just like, ah, yeah, you fucked it. One square to the right. Oh my god. Right. Should be a Deku Scrub. I think in the next bit. Is there one here? This guy. Here you go, a shield. 80 rubies. If I was patient, there's one that sells one for like 10 rubies around the corner. But you know, we have a dungeon to do. Right. Back to the intended programming. Let's go up here. Hi people. Back into the present. I mean, I'm going to have to unequip it in a second anyway. The one time in this game I've needed a shield. Because I don't think I've used the shield at all this game. And then it got eaten and I was like, eh, whatever, it's fine. Who needs it? Who needs a shield? The answer is me. Oh my god. Breathing my nail polish corporates while I'm down. I hope for the best, Monica. I'm sure it'll come out looking fantastic. Apart from moths thinking they're invited into my home, I'm going, well, that's good. Yeah, I'm not. What kind of moths is it? Is it like the kind of little flimsy annoying ones, or is it the ones that are like furry? Like they're big enough that you're like, you're not a bug. Like you're a miniature bat. Like what the fuck? Because one of them is a minor annoyance, and one of them's like, please get the fuck out of my flat. Well, they're just trying to bring you the good Jesus word, that's it. They're trying to let you know that John Bon Jovi passed away. Right. Does he get the angle for this? It's not gonna be as simple as standing on the thing. The annoying thing is you can only shoot one bullet at a time, so it's not like I can just... That's close though. I feel like the furthest out one's probably this first one to do it, right? You probably want to get in tighter as it goes. Shoot the thing. We're gonna run out of seeds. I feel like this is the right way to do it. Oh wait, you know what? Can I cheat again? Ah, I can. That was just for a gaseous seed. Oh my god. Wait, is there no other part of this room? Does this take me somewhere else? Okay. I did need to do it at least, it wasn't optional. All these goddamn skeletons. You stop jumping. Right. We gotta match the the layout, so we need blue first. Blue at the bottom. Where's the other blue? There is only one blue. That seems like a problem to me. I guess let's start it. Let's do all the others and then we'll figure out why there's a missing blue. There's a red one over here. Fucked it. Right, let's try this again. It's not. I like that one respawns because I keep heading down a hole. Right, blue here. Yellow here. See if I can't push these through the water. Oh, I can. Why is there water there? Is this part of the puzzle? And then we're missing the blue. Can we remove the blue from this one? Perfect, nailed it. I said there's no choice. Can I use the cane through this? No. Oh, I can just leave this one. Fuck it, we don't need that. It's probably just something important. It's probably a gaseous seed. Oh god, oh god, oh god, there's flaming keys everywhere. What these are moths like? It's just, you know, what moths are like. They just like coming indoors. Right. Can I move this? That's probably not what I wanted to do. I think I want... Oh, let's... Yeah, I want that one there. I can move that one up to there. I didn't even do that. Very confusing. Right, let's reset the room because I fucked it. At least I know what the puzzle is though, I wasn't really sure what the puzzle is. So I need to move this one over onto there, and that one down onto there. Which... I guess if I do... It's this one first. I did this. And then... I just don't know about this one. How am I meant to push this one down once it's in there? Can I move this? Oh, I think I know what to do. I think I figured out. I'm a goddamn genius. I'm the smartest man that's ever lived. Because I solved this puzzle in this kid's game. god. And then I instantly jumped in an enemy because I thought I had a sword equip. Because I'm smart. Is this another optional one? I walk into a hole for reasons. Oh, I'm so low on health. Do I have a health ring? Oh yes, my favourites. I love these puzzles. I'm not good at them, but I love them. Fucked it. Let's try going from this side. Spreading the good word of Moth. I did like those Moth memes that used to go around of moths looking for lamps. I've messed this up. Messed this up beyond repair. The only moth I like is Mothman. Someone make a swole Mothman. For Kashi. I did it again! Oh no, it's fine. I recovered. Now I've messed it up. Because there's no way I can get those last two. This one's hard. We're doing this. Wait, hold on. I'm gonna sneeze again. It's true, Kashi. This is my divine punishment. For contributing to your torment. What? I think I messed this up. I have messed up. Right, there we go. Am I doing like all day or edge first? This one's kind of annoying because like all of the obstacles are kind of like a wee bit in. So you don't know you've fucked up until you've already done a big chunk of it. Like this. Sorry. I got Discord notifications because I'm on. Man, those nails look great. They're very shiny. No, it's fine. Reminds me of the World of Horror soundtrack. I can hear that. I've not played much of World of Horror though. A friend of mine was streaming it to me with the like the inbuilt PlayStation like screen share stuff. It seems really cool. I'm trying to think what to do. I went up last time, right? I go up or go? I'm gonna go left. Let's just keep looping around, I guess, until fuck it. Fuck it. I was really close that time though. I mean, I'll be watching it, be mean to pick up, especially since it's officially out now. Yeah, I kind of didn't realize it was properly out until my friend started playing it. It seems cool. And I love the art style of it. Alright. Fucked it. Oh, we're so close this time though. Oh, we're so close. Too sleepy to be waiting in response to all you troublemakers. Yeah, I think Mick's right. This is gonna be the rest of the stream, by the way. It's just this one puzzle. Like I said, I like these puzzles, but I'm not very good at them. Let's try this. Nope. I think I know what to do. We're getting close. This isn't what I meant to do. Nailed it. I like forgot halfway through what I'd been doing. Because doing this outside loop seems like a good... It seems to work. I just need to be careful what I do when I get here. I could do... this. No, I can't. If I do this, then I'm stuck here. I wonder how many more puzzles there are after this, actually. How long is this dungeon? The important questions. No. This is the bit I need to be careful at, because this is where I keep fucking up. I guess I could do this. And then also I need to do this. Can I cut this wee guy out? And then I guess... No, because then I won't be able to come back down. What have I done wrong? Oh wait, can I just... Oh, we're so close. So close. Can we just cover up our mistakes? Wait, okay. Okay, it's a trick. I get it. I get it. This fucking game. When in doubt, just use the fucking cane on things. I probably needed that. Okay, a swimming puzzle. I feel like all these pots everywhere are gonna be important for something. Alright, so this is where we're gonna get the final thing. Are we gonna get 2 keys in here? Oh no, there's like a teleport. Okay. Hmm. Can I use a bomb on this? Yay. I don't know if that was the intended solution. Oh no, it wasn't, because now I'm stuck in here. Take an intentional death. I don't think this is the intended solution to this puzzle, but fuck it. After that last one. After that last one, I'm taking it. Oh my god. Can't use my sword. Oh no. Can I use this on them? Oh god. No, well, they're electric. Stop that. Right. Let's do this one. And do this one? Nope. This is a bad move. Is there any way for me to do... I can do this, but now I can't get out. Oh. No, I can't. It's still gonna be in the corner. I think I need to put this one in the middle, somehow. Oh, like this. No, fuck. Not like that. Like this. These puzzles. Alright, into our portal. More puzzles. It's gonna be a speed one. Oh my god. This one looks so elaborate. Oh. Right, I'm gonna first of all just blow up all these blocks. We'll figure out what we have to do after that, because this is not gonna last. This is gonna turn itself off. So let's get those blocks destroyed. This is definitely the most puzzle heavy part of this game so far. There's only one of these dice blocks, but I guess I need to move it across every one of them. I think we're going to have to do this a bunch. So the blue one seems easy. Just do up, up. Oh god. I need my jump. Oh no, did that? Oh, it resets it. If you die, it resets the room. That's annoying. I need to bomb those blocks again. Yeah, let's bomb the blocks the first time. Well, let's back out. The funny thing is, after I finish this dungeon, we have a really hard boss fight to do, so... This could end up being the whole stream. We might not get to Kirby. Let's move this back over there. Oh my god, I need to not fall in the lava though, because it resets me. No Kirby. If we get to like 3 and I've not beat the boss yet, I might, we'll see how it goes. Might call it quits and, god damn it, don't. This one's annoying. It making you go back every time is actually a very frustrating addition to this. This might be the one time this game I might use a save state. I might start save stating after every step of this because it's so frustrating to try and solve this puzzle when I can't even do it. Which is one of the cool things about the Analog Pocket is even though I'm using like a physical cartridge for this, you can save state. Which is a really cool little thing. Right, so we want to do... This is watching a man on shoot. I know. So if we move it here, and then we can move it up and across to, and then hopefully it's still yellow by the time we get it up there. Otherwise we'll need to do some weird shit. And then trying to get it red is gonna be a pain in the ass. Safe states. Hope that's not a problematic channel, Jonathan. Known racist, save states. Alright, let's load the save state. I don't think I've ever actually loaded one of these save states before. All cartridge-based save will be replaced with memories. Alright, let's fucking destroy our game. I didn't think the command would work. Of course it works. I should probably restrict it to... Yeah. Like, it's never been an issue before. People don't abuse it. I'll change it. Please don't do that. Actually, hold on, what is that set to? Because I don't know if it is set to everyone. Chatbot. Oh, it's set to everyone. Alright, now it's not. You've taken it away. You've abused it by calling out problematic streamers like Mikey. Now you need to be a VIP. Which actually means that Jonathan can still spam it, so... Right, this is fucked. This isn't yellow anymore. Wait, what? Wait, 2 down. Let's save state again. Oh. That's, I guess, kind of smart. Get this block over here. I think me and Mick will both forever be traumatized by dice puzzles in these streams. That's it, my secret name is Mod Command. Oh wait, can I push this past here? I might have fucked this. Ah, I did. Let's load this. Load. I think I need to pull it down into here. Oh yeah, I agree. Most of these puzzles aren't that bad though. This one having this extra layer of every time you fall in the lava you fucking reset is really annoying though. Like if falling into lava just took you to like the start of the room, I like wouldn't be using save states and also we'd probably have finished this by now. But I guess the logic of it is probably just that the dice can also fall in the lava, in which case you would need to reset anyway. Which that makes sense. But let me manually do it, you know? Because most of the times I fall in lava, the dice has not. Let's push this up. Oh shit. Oh, I need to push it down. How far down does this go? Thank God. Fast. Alright, I think we've got this. I'm actually going to save state again here. Yeah, I'm not super into the design of this one. Oh no, wait, we might have fucked it. Can I... Right. I need to move this to the right. Yeah, I can't get through. I thought I could get through the... I thought I could get through this thing, but I can't. Right, so let's get back up there and push it back down again. So we need to go down this way. Let's do this. But now I just worry the block's going to be like facing the wrong direction. Oh, come on. Ah, damn it. I may need to go back a state. Just let me jump there. What was the previous one? I was all the way back there. Let's do that though. This is just... At least we'll get some nice relaxing Kirby after this. I do wish there was like a fast load on the save states. Also, I guess you've got kind of limited button space on Analog Pocket. Oh, fucked it. Let me check how many more puzzles there are on this. Oracle of Ages. Heroes Dungeon. How much more of this have we got? Heroes Cave. Blah 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 blah. Dice block puzzle. Oh, I think I'm almost done. Guides and save states. Like, I'm just seeing how much there is. I'm not using the guide. It looks like we only have a couple of rooms left. Die, don't die. Oof. Save state. So I guess we need to push this like all the way around. Might as well get a YouTube video of the rest of the game. Who would do that? Like a YouTube video of like the ending of the game? State strategy guys. Yeah, fair. Was that a physical one? That's pretty cool. That feels like going an extra layer. No! Alright, push it down one. I guess let's just push it along too. Hope for the best. Nice. I don't have it. I think the closest thing I have to that is I've got the physical version of the instruction manual from Tunic. Oof. I don't know how I'm going to get that up to that one in time. So let's try going fast. We need to get us like across one and then up 4. Which is not going to work if I just walk into the lava. Yeah, the Tunic physical edition instruction manual thing's really cool. Honestly, it might be too nice. Oh, I didn't use the... Because like it's more printed like an art book. And I kind of wish it was just like, you know, a little flip. Like a instruction manual would be. We're so close. We're so close. This is why I save stated there. I knew I was gonna fuck that jump up. Such a precise jump. This cannot be the right way to do this. Come on, come on. We did it. Save state, because if I fall, actually, no, it shouldn't matter. We should be good. Oh, an underground 2D section, or side-scroll section. I did that. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, that was the wrong button. Can I get into that hole? Maybe not. It looks like I should use the switch shot there. Alright, that's definitely the way I have to go. Oh, shit. You know, it worked. Fuck that, Ruby. It'd be nice to have, but you know... You know what, let's get a big boy sword out. We got a gaseous seed. We got stuck here. Can we... I think we need to throw a bomb at that. Huh. Okay, you have to take the bomb out before you get in the thing, which is strange. Is this another water bit? Nope, it's just regular water. Oh, what? I guess I jump across there. Oh, is this a jumping puzzle? Is this just trying to jump around corners like a crazy person? That can't be right. Oh. Wait. What? I get to reset this room. Did I get one shot at this? This dungeon is punishing. Back across here. I'm gonna save state again. Because having to reset the room every time you fuck this up. This like oh no! I save stated as I was falling down the hole. Right, those are destructible. Ooh. It's weird how, like, punishing this, dungeon is. That was the... Let's delete that one. I think my seed's about... yeah. I was literally saying, I think my seed's about to run out. God damn it. As long as it's fun to watch, that's the important thing. Right, let's save state here. Yay! All my time wasted trying to make jumps that you weren't meant to make yet. Oops. Oh my god! Oh my god! This dungeon! That's fucked. Alright, this dungeon has earned my respect with that though, because that's a fucked thing to put in your game. That's like something like you'd find in like a fan level, not in a fucking legit Zelda dungeon. That's very funny. Hope there's only one of them. Nope, there's multiple. Alright, is this the end? Yeah, we got the ring. So all of that was for a ring that we're not going to use. We'll get it praised. But if I remember right, it increases your defense, but it reduces your attack. So we're probably... Oh my god, we have so many rings. So that's not that. I guess it could be the last one, right? Throwing distance. I don't care about that. It's gonna be this one, right? Armor ring level 3. Damage taken is all the way down, but my sword damage is all the way down as well. I mean, I'll take it. Because, you know, we could maybe get into like a battle of attrition with the last boss if we need to, but I think if we're in that situation, then we're already fucked, so. Buy all my rings. With damage from electricity. Already have it. I do like this, that if you get duplicates, they just buy them off you. Right. I didn't read what that one was. It's like a gold thing. Double hearts, sword beams, minus 2 hearts. Fuck the swimmer's ring. I don't think we're gonna have to swim again. Ever again. Half damage from falls is what that one was. The small rocks. Hard floors, that would have been useful in that one. No effect from jinxes. Best ring. Damage taken is always 1 heart, would actually not be the worst thing in the world. Where was that defense one? Oh, it's right there. Alright everyone, it's boss time. Or boss rush time. I think there's multiple bosses. So that difficult dungeon we just did is actually that is only in this Link game. Like, it only unlocks if you bring in your save data from Oracle of Seasons. Similarly, this whole boss fight section is only in the game if you bring in a save from Oracle of Seasons and do all the extra stuff. Oh, I see. There's 4 looking right, 3 looking left, 3 looking down, so we must have to go right. I'm really slow at looking at these, I'm sorry. There's 4 looking up. I'm just going to assume that 4 is always the number. There's 4 looking right. There's 4 looking down. Fucked it. Right? This is the star, right? I guess 4's not always the number. Alright, let's actually count them then. Let's take our time. We have 3 looking up, 2 looking down, no, 3 looking down, 4 looking right. I wonder if it's the same every time. 3 looking down, 2 looking left, 3 looking left. Wait, what? Oh, it's 4 looking down. Can't count. What? Oh my god. There's 4 down here. 3 left. This is just never down. Am I overthinking this? Yeah, this doesn't make sense. I thought, so like we have, here we have 4 looking left, right? And, or is it the direction none of them are looking in? Because none of them are looking right. Maybe it's the direction none of them are looking in, rather than the one most of them are looking in. Like this time none of them are looking left. Why did I go through some of them when I... whatever. None of them are looking left again? This has to be it, because yeah, every time there's direction none of them are looking in. Down right, oh, it's just left over and over. Up, down, left, so let's go right. This seems to be working though. Left, up, down, let's go right again. Left, right, down, so let's go up. Hell yeah, so that's what it was, is the one that none of them are looking in. There's Princess Zelda. Let's save. And also save state, because yeah. I remember this boss fight being really hard. Or not this first one. So I guess we could do a whole yeah. Zelda came here to save everyone and was like, fuck it. Go for a nap. Start a prediction, everyone. Let's see. Will we beat the boss first time? Will we beat... Let's change it to the first of these bosses and we'll do a different prediction each time. Yeah, the sad flames. So the left flame is the one from us finishing the first game. Second one's the one from finishing this game, and then the third one is going to be... Oops, I didn't put the thing up. Anyway, there's a prediction there. Will we beat the first of these bosses the first time? Because I think there's a one boss that has 2 phases and then another boss, if I remember right. Like we fight Twinrova twice and then we fight Ganon. And if I remember right, Twinrova is like an oracle in the Ocarina of Time, so we have to like bounce her energy blast back at the other color of Twinrova. But again, that might be misremembering that. It's been a while. And also I've never played this boss fight in Oracle of Ages before. I did it in Oracle of Seasons. I don't know if that makes any difference. We'll find out. There is 5 seconds remaining. Mixed faith is worth 10 points apparently. Well, you know. He has faith, just not a lot of it. You finally reached the altar. Prediction was quick. It shouldn't have been. Well, I'll see if I can make it longer next time. We can't have you scampering about up here, so we've dragged you in here. You only had time to put 10 points. I see how it is. The flames of sorrow, destruction, and despair burn brightly. The return of the evil King Ganon approaches. The holy sacrifice, Zelda, is all that remains. When we call Ganon's spirit into the vessel, it will be done. So like Ganon's ghost is going to go inside Zelda? That seems bad. Can't stop us, prepare to meet your doom. It's hot, yeah, we're gonna get hot Ganon. Which, to be fair, we already got in Tears of the Kingdom. Oh god, right. Oh my god. Please. Right, we got 1 hit. Finally. Two hits, but I'm taking so much damage. The one thing I did do off stream is I went and dug up a bunch of holes till I got rubies to buy a potion. Because we had to give away our last potion to the Zora King. Oh my god, getting the angle on these is annoying. Come on. I did not think you would get so far, but I shall not fall like Onyx and Varen. See my true power. Alright, phase 2. We'll sacrifice you so the evil king can return. Oh no. Okay, this is just the hair one at least. Ice time. Oh no, I need this. Didn't really make much difference. I'm just tanking all these hits, honestly. Which I probably shouldn't be, because we're not going to get to heal before Ganon. Like, this whole fight is basically just to soften you up before the Ganon fight, which I remember being a pain in the ass. Oh my god, I thought we were going to land in the lava there. Oh, at least it doesn't... At least it doesn't reset the room. That'd be a fucked up thing to do. How many hits can you take? I'd rather not have to use my potion like in this fight. We have a whole other boss to fight after this one. Well, we had to use potion. Give me a sweet 10 points. He takes a lot of hits. I wonder if I'm just missing something? Is there something else I need to do other than just hit her? Because she does occasionally go in that kind of dance. Like after her, she does that. I don't know if there's something I need to do. I'm gonna die. If I don't die here, I'm gonna die to Ganon. Like, we have no health. Right, I'm gonna try her with, what should we try her with? Everything? These ones made the person go sleepy before. I don't think that's what we need. Let's try. I don't know if that last one hit. We'll try again. I think I'm just missing something. We're probably gonna have to do this fight again. Like, even if we win it, we're gonna have to do it again. Oh my god, I can't. Help I actually hit. Okay, it is that. Well, we got some hearts back at least. Oh my god, right into the lava. So all of that, I wasn't even doing proper damage to her. So now we're going to go into the final fight with 2.5 hearts, which is not good. Not good. But at least on the bright side, Jonathan has won 10. Oh no, Jonathan has lost his points. Mick has won 500 points. Sorry, their points. I'm doing hate crimes on. I'm sorry, Jonathan. We beat it first time. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I'm tired. It's the Spiffy stream now. It's just a Kieran thing. Kieran's all the... Oh. Oh no. Deleting the VOD. Ganon will return. Right. Should we even do a prediction for this one? Because this is not... I'm going into this final fight with 2.5 hearts. Yeah, okay. Oh, it was set to 30 seconds, weird. Right, we'll set it to a minute. Alright, here, you've got a whole minute to figure out incredibly difficult question of, will I defeat this giant pig man with 2.5 hearts? First time. I think this fight's more straightforward. I think it is just hit him with your sword a bunch. But he does a lot of damage. Mick always has faith. Look, voting yes is a bad choice here. This is a genuinely hard fight. All right, predictions up. We have 2 for yes, 1 for no. Just losing points everywhere. Ganon is ballooning. Actually, we need this equipped. Don't know if we should equip this and do less damage for a bit, but try and survive. I don't think it's worth it though. I think really the only chance we have is of just not getting hit, which is not going to happen. See, I'm already hit. Dead. Dead already. Drowned Sorrows of the Dream Course. I think Dream Course is an appropriate punishment for my hate crimes. As predicted, I did not manage to beat Ganon first time. Oh, we have so little health now as well. Did I save state? I save stated before the fight, right? Right, we're just going to save state so I don't need to... Unless everyone really wants to watch me go dig up rubies for ages. Everyone wants to watch me dig up rubies to buy potions every time. Now, since everyone loves predictions, we'll do another prediction. Which is just, will we beat this whole boss rush this time? And we'll just keep doing it every time. Another prediction's up. I think if we can get past Twinrova, honestly the first form of Twinrova is actually more of a pain now. We finally reached the altar, blah blah blah, we did all this. Too sensible for messing about, yeah, fair. Yeah, I'm the same as Jonathan. I only know messing about. Stop. 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 This is not a good start. Right, we've got one hand. Okay, shield's actually kind of useful in this one. Oh, 2 hits. 3 hits. Phase 2. Right, I need this guy. One boss down. Sort of. He's two faces of the same boss. It's kind of two bosses. God. This is you back so far. Well, fuck that up. Oh, the charge attack is the way to go. Charge attack one-shots them. I do still need to hit them though. Come on, come on. Easy. When you're not fucking about not knowing how to do damage to her. Now we're going into Ganon with a full... We still have a health potion. Full row of hearts. Not in bed and it's light outside. Protomia streaming. I know, right? The rare occurrence. Alright, Ganon time. Let's see if... I didn't actually look at the outcomes for the protection. Let's see if the one person that has faith in me is going to be vindicated. Need this. So I think this is another boss I really want to be doing charge attacks for, but I don't know the patterns well enough to really... Oh. Wait, is that it? Everyone. I think we did it. I thought that fight was harder than that. I feel like when I did this as a kid, I didn't have this ring. So I'm using the double damage ring. Sorry, Jonathan, I remember it being difficult. Is there another phase to this? I don't think there is. I think that's it. Well, we beat the boss rush. Jonathan loses all their points. Sorry for scamming you of all your points. Called the completion of the rites that would have revived Ganon. I didn't really... Since they could not sacrifice me in their final rite, the powers of darkness could revive only a mindless, raging Ganon. Your power, wisdom, and courage were able to prevent Wenrova's planned resurrection of Ganon. And I hope and peace can return to the hearts of the people. Thank you, you're a true hero. Let's return to the others. Oh no, the castle is crumbling now that the powers are blah blah blah. I skipped out too quickly. We must get out of here. Jonathan, please don't do that. Please do not do that. We get saved by the tree. Leave this to me. Welcome back, Proto. Oh my god, there's something very loud happening outside. I don't know if my microphone picked that up. The world's at peace. I knew you could do it, Pro. Oh, look, the little heart. I knew you'd come back. Welcome back, Zelda, and you too, Pro. I feel bad for Farour, because Farour's just like inside the tree, sitting waiting to like accept passwords between games, and everyone else is out here. It's all over, isn't it? I knew you would find a way, Proto. Let us dance together again. Zelda, I'm glad to see you and return safely. Proto, you are all I expected. I always believed in you. We did it. Proto, the three triangles on your left hand symbolize power, wisdom, and courage. These are the mark of the hero who is fated to appear when peace crumbles in Hyrule. With the essences of nature and time, and the courage you possess, you have fought back the powers of evil. The guidance of the Triforce has made you into this legendary hero. Thank you, Proto. Oh, we got a little kiss from Zelda. Adorable. I think it is literally a pyramid scheme, Jonathan. Some nice artwork of everyone hanging out. And that's it. We did it. We finished Oracle of Ages. We finished Oracle of Seasons before it. We did all of the connecting stuff. So the fun thing is all the connecting stuff in Seasons is different. Well, obviously I'm not going to do that on stream because we've already played through these games twice. Or each of these games once. There's Ralph. Ralph's alive. Getting bullied by kids like Ralph deserves. Ralph looks kind of cool in his artwork. I should really like the artwork that's in these credit sequences. There's Den dancing. All your favorite Zelda programmers. So from what I understand, this team that made these games and then made Minish Cap then got picked up by Nintendo. I feel like they've worked on the recent Zelda games as well. See why like they are? Yeah, exactly. Like hanging about with those animal buddies. I need to look it up, but there is ways. So we had the flying bear thing as our like animal companion in this game, but there are ways to get the other two as your companion instead. I don't remember what they are. I think it's just like you have to meet them in a specific order. And we did it. I really enjoyed Minish Cap, but I'm not certain I finished it. I really like Minish Cap. I finished it a couple of times. Not as many times as I finished Oracle of Seasons. Oracle of Seasons was definitely the one that I just played over and over and over because, you know, it was the game I had. And also I really liked it. It's a really good game. Replaying these games has actually been a good reminder that these games are actually very good still. Right. I'm gonna quickly go get myself a drink. Everyone, stretch, hydrate, so on, so forth. And after the credits finish, we're gonna switch to playing Kirby's Dream Land. Alright. Got back just in time to see the final bit of artwork. So I was never sure if this was the intended takeaway from this. But I always took Link going away in a boat at the end of this to be like a setup to be like, hey, by the way, these games are prequels to Link's Awakening. Like he's gonna go crash into that island now. I don't know if that's actually the case, but as a kid, that's how I always viewed it. Yeah. So when you finish the game, you get this secret. So this one can actually, if I remember right, get put into either Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons. And what it does is it starts a new game which plays through like the default way, not the link code way. But you can like carry over all your rings and stuff like that, if I remember right. Which basically means I could put this into Oracle of Ages, replay it through Oracle of Ages, and then get the link code to start an Oracle of Seasons game to do the full link code stuff. So really you'd end up playing through all these games like 4 times. Which is a really neat mechanic, I think. And I will probably do that off stream because I like these games a lot. And also because my Oracle Seasons cartridge the battery died. So I need to recover. I need to remake my 100% save. So I'm going to screenshot that for later. But yeah, we've finished Zelda. So I'm now going to update all this stuff. Because we're going to play Kirby's Dream Land. The thing seems right considering the messy Hyrule story time. You know, hold on. Alright, let's crack open this Hyrule Historia. Oh god, it's not up over. It's fine. Where's the timeline? I forgot how much of the Hyrule Historia stuff is Skyward Sword focused because, you know, Skyward Sword was coming out at the time it came out. Here we go, timeline. Are they even on this? They are. According to the Hyrule Historia, the timeline that this is part of, where the hero is defeated in Oracle of Ocarina of Time. I keep saying Oracle instead of Ocarina now. The imprisoning war happens, then A Link to the Past happens, and then the Oracle games happen, and then Link's Awakening happens. So yeah, that makes sense. The ending of Oracle of Ages and Seasons leads directly into Link's